questions are the answer. So you started off asking a very nice question. It's a good sign. Um, I guess I'm a few new faces, and I'm sure more are coming. But if maybe we could just go around the room and introduce ourselves and say one quote or like song lyric that you like, because I just want to kind of get to know everyone here. I'm a little shy, but if I feel like I know you, I can like connect better and like that. So my name is Natabar, and one quote that really helped me in my life, I'm a monk, is that authority comes from truth. Truth doesn't come from authority. And that helped me at a time when whatever authority I had, I felt was trying to take advantage and they were distorting the truth. And so um, someone I really like said that quote, and it stuck with me and it struck me and it gave me strength in a time when I needed it. So I guess we could start from this side, go clockwise.
My name's Chandra.
Chandra.
I'm having trouble thinking of a quote.
It's like any like song you like, that anything that's been stuck in your head, and anything.
Um, uh, this is one quote I'm like it's on the kind of thinking of it. It's like to learn from other people's mistakes rather than like it's better to learn from others' mistakes
Nice.
than your own or something like this.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I like it, Chandra. Okay, nice to meet you. Yes.
Hi, Philip. My name is Roma,
Roma.
and I don't have a code, but I have one thing that is true, and true is power, and power is love, and love is freedom.
I like that. It's a wonderful quote.
Beautiful.
Okay, let's go it again. Truth is power. Power is love, and love is freedom. Yo.
That's good. That's good.
I resonate with that quote. That's good. I could make a whole another lecture on that. Yes.
Krishna, my name is Gandharvika Vilasi. My one thing that sticks with me is that you learn like you will live forever, and you practice like you'll die tomorrow.
Great.
I don't know who quoted, but I heard from Kastuba.
That's a nice one.
That's great.
Yeah, always be a learners.
Make your chanting very pure.
That's related to our what we want to talk about today is questions, because to be able to question things, you need to be in the mindset of a learner. Okay, yes?
Yeah, my name is Chimin. What came immediately to mind is a quote, a lyric from Imagine by the Beatles.
Okay.
Imagine if there's no religion. So I thought of Krishna actually in Bhagavad Gita tell Arjuna to give up all religions and surrender unto him.
Yeah. Yeah, like I was saying, authority comes from truth. Truth doesn't come from authority necessarily, and that sometimes religions can be this like gateway to truth or something like that, and try to bar access to certain people and to distort things for their own benefit. And so, yeah, the true intent behind religions can often be obscured by religion, ironically. So that's, yeah, thank you so much.
But then people have fall into another illusion. They reject all search of higher truth because of this. They think,
Yeah.
oh, that's religion.
I think that's more of the intent of what John Lennon was trying to say in that. He's, although I don't want to speak exactly for him, but okay. So yes,
My name is Pharaoh.
how do you spell it?
Pharaoh.
Pharaoh. Oh, Pharaoh. Okay.
Means king.
Yeah. Cool.
And then the statement would be interesting to say, he not busy being born, he's busy dying. You've heard that before. right?
I've heard similar things. Who's not busy being born is busy dying. I like it.
You know who said that? Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan said that. Oh, okay.
He's seen as, that's why he's seen as the social leader of the era. At that era, he was very articulate.
Yeah, wonderful,
It wasn't
wonderful
just,
songs. Wasn't just some
dancing and
musician. No, no. Yeah,
He
he was like a brahmana.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it fits in with many ancient myths. The myth of Sisyphus, the Greek myth. You know the myth of Sisyphus?
Yeah, imagine Sisyphus happy, right? He's like,
You spend the time rolling and rock up and then it rolls down again.
yeah,
So it's an enigma. Life is an enigma. Is an enigmatic quality. It's not necessarily depression. That's the challenge, you see. It's constant challenges. That's what it means, really.
yeah,
It's not a negative thing. It's a positive thing.
yeah. Like the price of freedom is everlasting vigilance.
Yeah.
If you want something good, you're gonna have to be constantly working for it. Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, it's a good enigma. Not that you would get depressed that something all around.
And
Okay.
another way of seeing it. For
Thank you,
those who are
Pharaoh.
wealthy, pleasure leads to old age. Wealthy, pleasurable people, inactive physically, consuming junk
Yeah,
foods,
yeah,
cancer, they get all kinds of diseases.
hedonism. Yeah,
There's
definitely.
no escaping the wrath of any true spiritual dimension,
Yeah,
which I don't give a name to because it's you don't have to have a face,
yeah,
as you know. It's the personal or impersonal, you know, personal and impersonal.
Thank you, Pharaoh. And so, like I said, we're talking about. I read a book called The Four Questions, and the first section of the book was called "Questions Are the Answers." And so I just wanted to kind of reflect on my thoughts on that and go through with y'all because I liked it. And if you have something you like and you share it with others, that's that's what nice people do. Like the first section in that book is talking about how a musk deer, which is like the deer that has like this musk gland that sometimes they take and make into perfume. So it has this very like wonderful smell coming from it, but its whole life it's searching where is that smell coming from? You know, is it coming from the river? Is it coming from these plants? Is it coming from this tree? Is it coming from this other animal? But actually, it's coming from itself. And so, similarly, it's a metaphor for in us as human beings. We're always trying to seek pleasure externally. Like, where can I find happiness? Where can I find happiness? You know, today it's called questions are the answers. So we're going to talk a lot about questions. And so a lot of the times people just answer that with a very short-sighted answer. Oh, let me just get it in this, like hedonistic way. Like just eat nice food, eat junk food. I can easily get it cheap, and I don't have to try. I can just sleep all day. And but actually, the enlightened sages, the enlightened beings, they teach us that just like the musk deer is searching for that fragrance, and it was actually within. Happiness also comes when we turn within. It's not, there's certain pleasures we can get turning external, but those are far inferior to what's actually inside. And so we have to go on this journey to connect with our natural blissful self. And that journey starts when we ask ourselves the right questions. One of my other favorite quotes that I was thinking to say, rather than truth makes authority, authority doesn't make truth. One of my other favorite quotes was from the Bible: ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives. The one who seeks finds. And the one who knocks, the door will be open. So we really, if we ask the right questions, if we actually pursue this, then we can attain it. The question mark is the most powerful of all the different punctuation marks. Like a comma can give you a little short pause or list something, or the semicolon was just in this wonderful biblical quote separating these things nicely, or a period gives you a full stop. But the question mark, it's shaped like a hook because it can hook you and catch you. It can catch people's attentions. You can snag some idea from the depths of your subconscious by asking the right questions. By asking the right questions, you can go from the mundane to the transcendental. You can most of the famous spiritual teachings have so many questions and answers in them. And when we get lost, we can ask ourselves, what question was I trying to answer? And usually that'll help us get our compass back, get our direction back. In rhetoric, when they're teaching you rhetoric, how to speak, they say in a conversation that who's ever asking the questions is leading the conversation. So if you find yourself, in a conversation with someone, start to ask more questions, and you'll see you'll be able to control the conversation a little bit better. And of course, there's the famous Socratic method of teaching, where there's a dialogue between the teacher and the student, and there's probing questions that try to shed light on what are the underlying values, what are the beliefs, what are the thoughts and statements of the participants, and in that way their knowledge can grow. And so when we ask the right questions in the right attitude, so we have like the right kind of question with the right attitude, it can lead us to uncovering the greatest secrets, the greatest truths. Gandharvika was saying, learn like you are going to live forever. And many successful people always recommend, be a lifelong learner. It means we should have the attitude of a child, the attitude of, I don't know it all. If we say the 4 words, I already know it, those 4 words will shut us off from any more learning or any more knowledge. That'll shut us off from asking the right questions. And it'll stop our journey from actually developing to what we were meant to be. If you think you have all the right answers, if you think you already have all the answers, then you'll never sincerely inquire and go beyond. You won't receive the solutions to make progress. So this humility is the right attitude. If we think we're already full, but we're actually not full, then we're just cheating ourselves. We're lying to ourselves. If I come here sitting in front of all of you, oh yes, I'm already enlightened, but I'm not actually enlightened and I'm just faking it, then it won't do good to anyone. It won't do good to me, it won't do good to you. But so we have to ask in the right mood, and you have to ask the qualified people. And when you ask the right questions to the right people, then you can be sure to get the answers that you seek. But even before knowing who to ask, just by formulating questions, that begins our process. Famously, the Buddha, he began his quest of enlightenment with a question. Even the word quest has the word quest in it. Quest means to search for something. And if we look in Latin, to ask, query, in Latin is querere, to ask. And if you add to it, which makes emphasis, it means acquire. So in other words, the knowledge that we acquire comes from our queries or our questions. So if we want knowledge, we have to ask questions. And the Buddha, he began his quest for enlightenment with a simple question. His family had cheated him his whole life. They had kept him just to see the young, beautiful things, the rich and opulent things, the wonderful things. He never in his life saw decay, poorness, lacking, suffering. Until one day he decided he was going to be the king. He was the prince at that time. He wanted to see his kingdom. And as soon as he goes out, despite the best efforts of those trying to gaslight him, he ended up perceiving the suffering. He saw old age. He saw disease. He saw hunger. He saw poorness. He saw lack of opulence. He saw all these things that contrasted with his silver spoon-fed life. And this caused him to reflect and ultimately ask a big question. So it matters our attitude of our questions, and it also matters the nature of our questions. We should be asking the big questions. Like the Buddha asked, what is the cause of this misery? He had never experienced misery, because when you're young, you don't experience much misery, especially if you're young and you're a prince and they're giving you all the best things and making sure you never see anything bad. He never even saw rotting food. But when he went out, then he saw this misery. So it touched his heart. He was a deep individual. And so he started his whole journey just formulating the right question. That's a big question. What is the cause of misery? And so we have to have this sincere attitude, and we have to ask these right questions. Only by daring to ask these right questions can really start on this important journey. There's other big questions like, where do I come from? What is my purpose? What is the ultimate truth? Like, is there actually real happiness, or is life just suffering? Similar to the Buddha, we look many different famous texts, the entire Bhagavad Gita, it's simply Arjuna asking questions to Krishna, trying to figure out answers to his deep existential crisis he's having. Or the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, another Vedic scripture, it's just coming from a few questions that are extremely deep and expand into this marvelous answer over thousands and thousands of pages. And of course, these are the big questions. So there's other kind of questions that we're probably already asking ourselves that won't really do very much in our life. Questions like, how do I eat? How do I sleep? Who do I mate with? How do I defend what I'm eating and where I'm sleeping and who I'm mating with? How do I defend all those? These questions are the same questions that animals are always asking. And so we don't want to necessarily be always asking the questions that are just on an animalistic level. Of course, as Maslow tells us, there is a hierarchy of our needs. Of course, we need to eat. Of course, we need to sleep. Of course, all these, we also have an animal side to us. But at the top of the hierarchy is self-realization. The most important thing, the thing that humans can do that animals can't, is we can ask these big questions, and we can accept the big answers, and we can actually go towards self-realization. In other words, we should live to eat. We should eat to live. We shouldn't be living just for the sake of eating, or living a hedonistic sense gratification lifestyle. So the Vedanta Sutra, it implores, if you come into this human form of life, atato brahma jignasa, then now that's the right time to start to inquire, to ask the big questions. A dog can't really comprehend such big questions. A dog is just, as soon as they see something to eat, as soon as they feel tired, they're going to sleep. As soon as they see something to mate, they're going to do that. And that's more or less all they can take in that form of life. But in the human form of life, we can take more. And we don't need to go to college. It doesn't take some formal education. All of us are just one question away from embarking on this quest for enlightenment. The different questions, the who, the what, the where, and the when, they'll help us explore more physical. Who did it? Where are we going to go? What should we do here? When did that happen? But then some of the bigger questions have to do with the why. Some people, like atheistic people, they doubt the question that start with why. Like, what's the need for asking why? The search for meaning, metaphysical truths is actually futile. But nonetheless, even though they're doubting that, throughout all history, humankind has always been asking these why questions. Like when you feel thirsty, you're hankering for water, you can understand that urge for water indicates that water is there. So similarly, our natural urge to understand why we exist, that is also indicative of that then there's an answer to that, why we're here. But we shouldn't accept whatever we're told blindly. You can walk up to anyone and ask them why. And you go in here in New York, there's 10 million people and you'll get 10 million answers. So it's also about accepting it in the right mood. We shouldn't accept things blindly. Like it said that doubting is a necessary function of our intelligence. We shouldn't just have, some people call it blind faith. Oh, you're just blindly following this dogma, something like that, many would say. So yes, we shouldn't blindly accept something. If you accept something on a whim, then you can also drop it on a whim. And how can it actually help you on a journey to real self-realization, to actual understanding of the truth of who you are and what you are? If you're just blindly accepting something, taking something cheaply, that's not where it's at. You know, in the 60s and 70s, the question authority. You know, I don't trust a person that's over 30. You know, that was like the kind of mood. And yes, question authority, but we have to look also on the other side of the coin, where there's blind faith, blind acceptance. On the other side of the coin, there's blind doubt. That for no reason, just because something's beyond your realm of knowledge, beyond the horizon of your perception, just because something's beyond the horizon of your perception, beyond your knowledge, doesn't mean you should automatically doubt it. If you have we should be healthy doubters. If you have an authority that is reputable, that is trustworthy, and giving a reasonable explanation, giving reasonable knowledge, then you should take that and go with it. So we should neither have blind faith or blind doubt. We should be healthy doubters. And question authority, yes, question authority. Question them, but with the purpose to learn. Don't accept it blindly, because like in the beginning, I said authority does not constitute truth, but truth constitutes authority. And so doubting isn't favorable when we're doubting answers that are coming from a reliable source. So when we're ready to overcome blind faith and we're ready to overcome blind doubt, then we're actually ready to hear these reasonable explanations about all these things that are lying beyond our consciousness, beyond the purview of our limited reality, that we can actually expand our consciousness, expand the horizon of our perception. And some may doubt, oh, you're talking about big things. Like if we ask, what is our purpose? Is there a God? What is the nature of God? Someone may challenge, how can you know God? How can the finite possibly approach the infinite? That's a fair enough doubt. However, we should remember that if, we're definitely finite, but if there is an infinite, then to limit the infinite wouldn't quite make sense. If the infinite wants to reveal itself to the finite, that's not just because of our logic or because of our desires. That's not something we can take away from the infinite. The infinite can reveal itself to the finite. The finite can't approach the infinite through finite means, but the infinite can reveal itself to the finite. So, if the finite approaches the infinite with the proper attitude, if we're asking the proper questions, then we can put ourselves in a position where we can actually have the infinite revealed to us. One quote that our guru, Srila Prabhupada, says, out of so many human beings who are suffering, there's very few who are actually inquiring about their position. Like the Buddha, he finally saw the suffering. What is the cause of this suffering? So there's very few who are actually inquiring about that. Very few are asking, what are they? Why are we put into this awkward position? And so on. And unless one is awakened to the position of questioning the suffering, unless you realize that we don't want suffering and we want to make a solution to suffering, like the Buddha, then we're not really utilizing this human form of life. That the humanity really begins and it separates themselves from animal life at the point when this sort of transcendental inquiry is awakened in one's mind. Yes, Anthony, good to see you. So these questions are very important, and like I said, this is coming from this book. Actually, we have the book if anyone wants to take it. It's upstairs, called The Four Questions. Without spoiling it too much, there's four really wonderful questions that if we repeatedly ask ourselves, that we can actually find peace, we can find a solution to sufferings, we can actually find what is real happiness, and we can actually connect with our purpose. And so the four questions: one, what is my purpose? And we'll talk about that a little more, but I just want to go through the four questions. Two, how may I be of service? Three, what is the lesson? And four, how am I investing my time right now? So, what is my purpose? You know, if we look at a screw, I mean, walking down the streets of New York, sometimes you just see just a random little screw. Sometimes walking through the temple, I might just see a little screw just sitting somewhere. A lone screw may seem insignificant if it's sitting there, and you try to sell someone, even if you just say, oh, it's only a penny, they might not even want to buy it from you. But as a part of a bigger machine, like in this TV stand, there's so many screws that are holding it together, then it becomes important. And when it's acting within its function, then it's very good. You know, sometimes a machine is just off by like 1 degree, you know, like if you're in a car and something's off with the axles just a little bit, it'll start to create a terrible noise, or it could break your car completely. So the purpose of something is due to its relationship sometimes with a bigger truth. But we shouldn't get too caught in like shallow purposes. Sometimes people ascribe a purpose to something when it's really purposeless. Like there's the famous story of the cat in the basket. Who's ever heard the story of the cat in the basket? So there was a wedding, and they were trying to make their wedding vows, and they had all this food out, and there was rats that were eating the food. So they had the idea that they should get a cat, and the cat would go and scare away all the mice so they could have the wedding food out. But then the cat was like causing a disturbance, so it kept running around, and so one of the head people at the wedding said, okay, just get the cat, put a basket over it, and leave it in the basket, and then we can perform the wedding, and then you can let the cat go. And so one young lady who was attending the wedding saw that, and then when she was having her wedding many years later, they were about to like conduct the wedding, when she said, wait, it's not ready yet. We don't have the cat in the basket that we need. And she didn't understand what the purpose, why they put the cat in the basket. So she just did that. So actually sometimes, who said, oh yeah, you said, imagine there's no religion, right? Yeah. So if like sometimes religion can have a lot of these cat in the basket, ritualistic things that are diverse from their purpose. So if we're asking the question, what is my purpose? We can help, why am I doing this? What is my purpose behind doing this? That question can keep us on track. And speaking of purpose, they say you should be living for something you're ready to die for. Like Gandharvika said, she left us. Learn like you're living forever and practice like you're going to die tomorrow. Actually, death can give us a powerful perspective on our purpose. When you bring death into your consciousness, thinking about, okay, that's a fact, that's coming, that can change how you act and put your priorities in place and keep your purpose going. There's so many people who, after they've encountered a experience with death, a close encounter with death, or the death of the other ones, or somehow death has come into their consciousness, that they've changed their activities. They've really found what's actually their priorities, what's really important for them. I know for me that a big part of my journey to wanting to do what I'm doing came from contemplating and realizing that you're not There's not escaping death. Like death is coming. So what am I going to do about it? And just asking that question can push you towards finding a purpose. And our ultimate purpose, it's said by some philosophers that it should just be for the sake of itself, not for the sake of anything else. Like, like who here is going to school currently? Yeah, Chandra, right? So I could be like this, sometimes little kids are annoying and they always like asking why, always ask why, always ask why. I think when I was a young kid, sometimes they give you these like Indian names, so like your Indian name is always ask why, something like that. But the sometimes so I could go to you, Chandra, say, well, why are you going to school?
Study.
So so you're going to school. Why are you going to school to study? Well, why are you studying? Like, what's going to be the fruit of when you're done studying? What are you going to get?
The job.
Okay, yeah, you're going to get a degree, right? And then why you get a degree? Because then you could show the degree to an employer. The employer, oh, you got that degree? Okay, so I'll give you a job. So why are you getting a job though?
Money.
So you're getting money. But then why are you getting money?
To buy nice things.
And why do you want to buy nice things? To enjoy them?
Yeah.
To enjoy.
Yeah.
So why do you want to enjoy? And I think that's where it ends. Like we just want to enjoy because we want to enjoy, right? Like all those other things were not really for the sake of themselves. But at the end, the bottom line of it is that we're all seeking happiness. So like Prabhupada was mentioning, if we're not questioning, if we're all ultimately seeking happiness, we all want the most happiness for the most time with the least suffering. But we're not questioning how do we stop the suffering? How do we end suffering? What's the solution to all suffering to get what's the way to get unlimited happiness? Is there a way to get unlimited happiness? If these questions aren't churning our consciousness, churning in our mind, then we're just going to eventually lower ourselves down to animal levels of happiness. And we shouldn't be satisfied with animal levels of happiness. Animal level of consciousness. That's, as human beings, we have the freedom to dedicate our lives to anything. But this also carries the weight of the responsibility for our choices. The ancient wisdom, practically all the ancient wisdom schools challenge that living merely for the satisfaction of the senses means you're living in vain. You're not really living. He's not busy being born, is busy dying. Like Pharaoh gave us that nice quote from Bob Dylan. If you're not trying to find the birth of your true happiness and you're not acting towards that, then you're just slowly dying. And like to get our purpose, what is our purpose? That's the question we're talking about. The root question in the Bhagavatam that they ask, what is the absolute and ultimate good for everyone without exception? Yeah.
Where he says, they come to be clear that the majority of us is already dead because we are not asking questions. And those who are actually asking questions and those who are in the state of resurrection.
Yeah, that's a good way to hear that quote. That if we're asking questions, then it's like we're resurrecting ourselves. If we're not asking questions, we're just dying, or we're living in vain. In other words, we're dead already. And if we're asking these higher questions, if we're pursuing these higher truths, it is like a literal reincarnation of ourselves, a little resurrection of ourselves, and it will lead to factual resurrection out of this